What's going on, guys? Back with another video, and today we are focusing in on yet another movie, another country in the Around the World in 100 Films challenge. And today we'll be traveling all the way to Germany. Now, for those that are new on the channel, as always, I like to throw this exposition out. I just pick a country. I have three little guidelines that I stick to, with a director being a native to that country, it being shot on location, and having at least one actor that is also from the said country. I decided to go with a classic, a film that I saw a few years ago, and that's the 1931 Fritz Lang film M. I heard so many great things about this movie and I wanted to check it out. Before I even started this challenge, I had seen the really famous film Metropolis that has inspired so many other, sci-fi and fantasy films. It was a film that was way ahead of its time in 1927. And what's interesting enough, one of my favorite directors of all time, Alfred Hitchcock, he actually visited the set and had ideas that he drew from that film. Obviously not in a sci-fi manner, but there were just camera techniques and just, he drew a lot of inspiration from that film, and he would later employ that in his own movies. And coincidentally enough, with M, it was like Fritz Lang had seen The Lodger and Blackmail. These are movies from 1927 and 1928, and he would kind of implement them into this film. Now, this is one of the first films with sound coming from Germany, and it's also classified as the first serial killer film ever made. This is a film that follows our main character, Peter Lorre, who is a child abductor, child killer, whatever you name it. They don't really get into specifics. There's a lot of just implying what he does. And it is a town trying to get together to put a stop to this, to capture this guy. And it's just so fascinating watching how they do it with the most minimal dialogue possible. And it's interesting following this without the exposition of how they're gonna do it. There's just so many little nuances in this film that tell a story. And that's what I really appreciate, because it's not something that relies heavily on exposition to get from one point to the next. It's those little hints, like a footprint or a balloon being let go, that really tells you the story. And that's what I really appreciated about some of the ideas in this film. The monologue is engaging every step of the way. The editing I absolutely loved. And for a 30s film, it's not afraid to experiment with its camera angles, much like Alfred Hitchcock. So I really appreciated that in that aspect. The film is filled with paranoia and uses shadows to really intensify scenes. Like I said, the little details are what are so subtle, but what help move the story forward. It's not going to be as dark as serial killer films that you watch today. I mean, it is a 30s film. It is restricted to its material in some ways. It's not going to be very graphic like a lot of South Korean films you watch nowadays. But for what it is able to do, for how early of a film this is, it's very monumental. The influence it had on so many other films. And what's crazy is you watch it as a 30s film and you never feel like it's old. You don't feel it's dated. You don't think it's a drag to sit through. And trust me, sitting through a lot of 30s films, they can be pretty tedious to get through. This never feels that, Even with a film like Metropolis, which I think is so ahead of its time and I respect it so much, that's a 2-hour silent film that not everyone's going to be able to get through it. This, I don't think it has that problem. My only problems with this film are really nitpicks, which I've thrown out the window at this point, and they're the same issues I had with the 1960s film Psycho. Towards the end of the film, they do like to explain things. This is like where someone enters the room and we have to hear an explanation of what happened, just in case people didn't understand. And for the time, it's understandable. I understand why we would need to have an exposition piece towards the end, because it's covering subject matter that normally wasn't covered. And when it comes to mental health, it's something that wasn't understood very well at the time. So I'm not holding the film against it for doing that. But it is something where I'm like, well, we really didn't need that. And that's something really small that I really didn't want to take off for that. The one other issue was the facial expressions. Peter Lorre tends to act with his eyes a lot in this film, and It's also something that you have to understand. It's a product of its time because this was during that transitional period of silent films, the films with sound that were coming out, which was very new. So having to transition and not so much focus on facial expressions and, you know, all these gestures and actually act. It's a totally different animal, and I understand why it was something that, like, kind of like, why are they doing that? A lot of early 30s films, they did make ones with sound and without, so maybe it was just trying to find that balance and act for the people that would watch it with sound and those without. Not really sure about that, but either way, these are like the smallest little nitpicks that I don't think overall hurt the quality of the film. This is a really amazing film that I recommend a lot of people check out. It's probably one of my favorite German films of all time, despite being almost 100 years old. Give it a chance. I think for its time, you'll be very impressed with the quality of this film. So with that, I'm going to be giving Fritz Lang's M an A+ and a 5 out of 5 star rating. Can't say enough about this film. If you haven't seen M, do check it out. It is available on the Criterion channel as well as in the collection. And thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any suggestions for any German films or any other countries I've covered in this series, do comment them down below. I'm always on the lookout for great films. If you like this video, please do support the channel. Hit that thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit that subscription bar as well for more videos, and I will see you guys in another video with another country, another movie, and we'll do this once again.